Picture this. Two people earn the same income, $100,000 a year. One pays nearly $25,000 in taxes. The other? Almost nothing. Same country, same income, completely different outcomes. Now here's the part most people never realize. The second person isn't cheating the system. They're playing it exactly how it was designed. And if you don't understand how that system works, you end up funding the people who do. My name is Alex, and I spend a lot of time studying money, investing, and why some people seem to move ahead financially, while others stay stuck no matter how hard they work. And today, I'm going to show you something most people were never taught. Not because it's illegal, but because it completely changes how you think about taxes. Let's start with a hard truth. Most people think taxes are based on income. They're not. They're based on taxable income, and those are two very different things. Because wealthy people don't focus on how much they earn. They focus on how much of it is visible to the tax system. And that difference, that's where everything changes. Here's the first concept you need to understand. Income is loud. Tax strategy is quiet. The average person earns money through a salary. It hits their bank account. It gets taxed automatically. End of story. But wealthy individuals, they structure their money in ways that reduce, delay, or even eliminate taxes legally, not by hiding money, but by redirecting how it flows. So let's break down the system, not theory, not opinions, real strategies that are used every day. The first one is something almost nobody uses properly: tax-advantaged accounts. Now this sounds boring, which is exactly why most people ignore it. But here's the reality. If you invest through a normal account, you pay taxes on gains, dividends, withdrawals. But inside certain accounts, you either delay taxes or eliminate them completely. Let me make this real. If you invest $500 a month for 20 years at 8%, that's about $300,000. Now imagine paying zero tax on that growth. Not reduced, zero. That's not a loophole. That's the system rewarding behavior it wants to encourage: saving, investing, long-term thinking. And this leads to a bigger idea most people miss. The government doesn't punish wealth building. It rewards it if you do it the right way. Now here's where things get interesting. The second strategy: business ownership. This is where the gap really starts to widen, because employees are taxed first, then they spend. Business owners, they spend first, then they're taxed on what's left. That single shift changes everything. Let's say you earn $80,000 at a job. You get taxed. Then you pay for internet, transportation, equipment. But if you run a business, some of those same expenses become deductions. That means less taxable income, which means less tax. Same life, different structure. And this is why you'll hear people say, it's not about how much you make, it's about how you make it. Now, before you think this only applies to big companies, it doesn't. Even small side hustles can unlock tax advantages, and that's where most people are leaving money on the table. The third strategy is one of the most powerful: depreciation. This is where things start to feel almost unfair, because you can own an asset that makes you money and still reduce your taxes. Let's break it down. Imagine you own property. That property generates income, but on paper, the government allows you to depreciate it, meaning you can claim it's losing value over time, even if it's actually increasing. So now you have income coming in, but taxable income going down. That gap, that's where tax savings live. And this leads to a powerful realization. Wealthy people don't just buy assets for income, they buy them for tax behavior. Now, the fourth strategy is something you've probably heard but never fully understood: capital gains. There are two types of income: earned income, salary, and investment income.
Earned income is taxed the highest. Investment income, however, often taxed lower, and sometimes not at all, depending on how it's structured. So instead of working more hours, wealthy individuals focus on owning assets that grow, because growth is taxed differently than effort. Let me say that again. The system rewards ownership more than labor. And once you understand that, your entire financial strategy changes. Now here's where most people make a huge mistake. They chase income but ignore structure. They work harder but stay in the same tax position. And over time, that becomes a silent leak. The fifth strategy is simple but extremely powerful: delaying taxes. Because timing matters more than people think. If you can push taxes into the future, you keep more money working for you today. And money that stays invested grows. Even a few extra years of compounding can mean tens of thousands in difference. So it's not just about avoiding taxes, it's about controlling when they happen. And now we get to the final strategy. This is the one that ties everything together: changing your mindset about money. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The system isn't broken, it's just not explained. Most people were taught work hard, earn money, pay taxes. But they were never taught how to structure income, how to reduce taxable exposure, how to use the system legally. So they stay stuck in a loop: earn, tax, spend, repeat. While others operate like this: earn, structure, reduce, invest, grow. Same effort, different results. And this is where everything changes. Because once you understand these principles, you stop asking, how do I make more money? And you start asking, how do I keep more of what I make? This isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about understanding the rules. Because the people who win financially aren't just working harder, they're playing smarter. And the truth is, you don't need millions to start using these strategies. You just need awareness, then structure, then consistency. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't just about income, it's about control. Control over your money, control over your taxes, control over your future. And the people who master that, they don't look different at first, but over time, they pull further and further ahead, quietly, consistently, and eventually completely free.